Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. While you are waiting, please hit the like button and share the video link. Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. Hit the like button and share the video link. Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. Hit the like button. Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. Hit the like button.
Please like and leave a comment, and share this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin. Grab a drink and a snack, sit down and enjoy watching the show. Don't forget to comment, like the video, and share it to others.
Welcome to live show 75, Privacy Invasion, Surveillance Capitalism, coming to you live from Minsk, Belarus. Thanks for tuning in, hit that thumbs up, share the video link, and let's get on with the show. Good evening everyone. Tonight we're diving into the topic that's both unseen and pervasive, impacting every corner of our digital lives. Privacy invasion through surveillance capitalism. We're talking about a system where your personal data isn't just gathered, it's turned into a commodity. Every click, every like, every time you hit I agree without reading those terms of service, you're feeding the system. Picture your daily habits, preferences, and even your most private moments being packaged and sold, not for your benefit, but for advertisers, corporations, and anyone willing to pay for a glimpse of your digital life. This goes beyond targeting ads. It's about predicting, influencing, and even controlling your behavior under the guise of convenience. But what's the real cost? We're at a crucial moment where technology promises ease and connectivity while quietly eroding our privacy, turning what we thought was freedom into an illusion. Think about this. When was the last time you felt truly private? When was the last time you weren't being watched, analyzed, or sold? From smart cities to smart homes, we're building a world where surveillance isn't just accepted, it's celebrated. Here's the wake-up call. If you think you have nothing to hide, you're missing the point. Privacy isn't about hiding, it's about maintaining control over your life. The solution isn't more apps or better privacy policies, it lies with us, demanding transparency, understanding what we're giving away, and pushing for laws that protect our digital identities as fiercely as our physical ones. Let's start a conversation not just about what we've lost, but about how we can reclaim. In an age of surveillance capitalism, privacy isn't just a right, it's an act of rebellion. Join us as we explore, challenge, and perhaps change the game, because this isn't about privacy, it's about freedom. Privacy, invasion, surveillance capitalism, the new battleground. In an era where our digital footprints are miraculously tracked and monetized, recent events like the arrest of Pavel Durov, co-founder of Telegram, mark a significant turning point in the ongoing battle between privacy advocates and the surveillance state. This, coupled with the censorship of X in Brazil, highlights a disturbing trend of tightening centralized control over digital platforms, posing a direct threat to privacy and free speech. The Durov dilemma, a stand against surveillance. Pavel Durov's arrest on August 24, 2024 at a French airport was more than just a legal issue. It was a symbolic strike against digital privacy. Accused of facilitating organized crime through Telegram, Durov's case shines as a light on a two-tiered justice system where privacy-focused platforms are targeted while tech giants like Google and Meta go unchallenged. This disparity reflects a broader strategy by governments to control information flow using legal pretexts to access user data and chip away at our privacy. The rise of surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism has never been more evident in the push for central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Marketed as financial innovation, CBDCs represent the epitome of centralized control, enabling governments to monitor and potentially restrict transactions, echoing the surveillance tendencies seen in communication platforms. This shift makes privacy coins, such as Bitcoin, not just relevant, but essential in the fight against financial surveillance. Centralized platforms are vulnerable to government overreach. The censorship of X in Brazil, where the platform was suspended on legal representative dispute, exemplifies how centralized platforms are vulnerable to government censorship. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the risks associated with centralized control, where platforms can be manipulated or shut down, compromising user freedom and privacy. The urgent need for decentralization. The arrest of Durov and the censorship in Brazil highlight the vulnerabilities of centralized systems. There's a growing call for decentralized technologies like Nostra, for communication and private coins like Bitcoin for transactions. These technologies offer a way out of the surveillance state, providing systems where the control isn't concentrated in the hands of a few. Implications for privacy and control. The global struggle between privacy and surveillance is intensifying. Durov's arrest and the censorship of X are not isolated events. They are part of a broader narrative of increasing government monitoring of digital activities. This trend is likely to escalate with the introduction of CBDCs, potentially rendering financial privacy obsolete, making the fight for digital rights even more critical than ever. Looking ahead, the future of privacy. As we navigate this Orwellian landscape, the future of privacy is at stake. The rise of CBDCs combined with the crackdown on privacy-focused platforms signals a dire need for alternatives that prioritize user autonomy. The development and the adoption of technologies that resist surveillance like NOSTRS, N-O-S-T-R-S, decentralized communication could be our best defense against all-encompassing surveillance state. In this new battleground of privacy invasion and surveillance capitalism, the choices we make now will define the future of digital freedom. The arrest of Durov and the censorship of platforms like X are just the beginning of this fight. And here is a voice from the past, John McAfee, on privacy in today's world. In today's digital landscape, privacy has become a luxury, if not an illusion, as John McAfee, the first creator of the first commercial antivirus software, often highlighted before his untimely death. McAfee's insight in privacy, especially in the context of modern technology, resonates even more today: surveillance and smartphones. McAfee was vocal about smartphones being the ultimate surveillance tools, preferred by governments worldwide. He argued that there was virtually no privacy left when your device can track every move, listen to your conversations, and monitor your digital interactions. He warned that the privacy promised by encrypted apps like Proton Mail, Signal, or even Telegram might be a dangerous illusion. McAfee believed that despite encryption, governments could still hack into devices, rendering these privacy measures ineffective. McAfee was a proponent of privacy coins, arguing that non-privacy cryptocurrencies expose users' financial transactions in ways that would be unacceptable if done by traditional banks. He predicted that privacy coins would become more significant due to the human desire for privacy. His broader message was one of skepticism towards the tech industry's promise of privacy. McAfee's life, marked by controversies and a deep distrust of governmental overreach, underscored his belief that in the digital age, true privacy is nearly impossible without extreme measures. McAfee's life and death, surrounded by mystery and speculation, serve as a stark reminder of the privacy battles individuals face. His warnings about privacy, the erosion of privacy rights in the digital age, continue to echo, urging a re-evaluation of how we approach privacy in the era where surveillance capitalism thrives. Let's listen to him.
Good morning, John McAfee here. I am dissed constantly for using Gmail as my email system. Let me explain something to you. If you think you have any privacy whatsoever with an encrypted system, whether it's an email system like Proton Mail or an encrypted messaging system like Signal, you have no fucking privacy. Encryption was designed 35 years ago to prevent a man-in-the-middle attack, meaning someone between your transmission and your receipt. There's no man in the middle anymore. We don't need them. Your fucking smartphone is the surveillance device preferred by every government on the fucking planet. Do you know how easy it is to plant malware? Go on Pornhub. If you've been on Pornhub, someone is now listening to you. All you have to do is do a drive-by of a website and it sets the download unauthorized applications flag. The first click, you now have malware that is doing two things: watching your inputs before they're encrypted and transmitting them, and reading the outputs after they are fucking encrypted, people. Encryption is a worthless piece of shit old technology that is being marketed as a safe system. There is no safety anymore. There is no privacy. I use Gmail for one reason. The last company that requires this fucking subpoena from a government in order to give them your information. And their lawyers have 30 fucking days to review the subpoena. 30 days is enough for me. I change my fucking email every 15 days. Wake up, people. You have no more privacy. You're being sold a fucking bill of goods which is worthless with encryption. And thank you for listening.
Introducing the LEGO Secure STARMER collection, a surveillance state LEGO city. We're excited to unveil the LEGO Secure STARMER collection, a LEGO set that delves into the controversial topic of social media censorship and its consequences. This collection features LEGO City, a miraculously designed cityscape where every corner is under surveillance, reflecting a society where digital footprints are closely monitored. The police force. This LEGO police force is not just about law enforcement, but also about digital policing. They come equipped with devices to monitor and arrest individuals for their social media activity. Social Media Censorship Zone. The centerpiece of this set is a social media censorship zone. Here, LEGO minifigures are shown to be arrested for their online posts. This zone includes a digital billboard displaying censorship social media posts, a police van labelled Social Media Offenders Transport, a makeshift courtroom where thought trials for social media content occur, a prison section where these offenders are locked up while traditional criminals are released to make room, symbolising a twisted justice system prioritising digital censorship over physical crimes. This collection serves as a satirical yet thought-provoking commentary on the potential future where freedom of speech on social media platforms could lead to real-world consequences, highlighting the debate around censorship, surveillance, and the value of free expression in the digital age.
A man has posted a meme about the riots in Lego City, UK. This looks like a job for the mobile police unit. Hey! Build the mobile police unit and save your city. Track him down, caught him far right, deny him his right to free speech and arrest him. Now time to lock him up at the police station. Hey! Make space in the prison block by releasing all the killers and rapists. Now lock up all the people who posted memes. You've just made Lego City a safer city. The new KIER STARMER collection from Lego City. Each set sold separately.
Recent political commentary from George Galloway and Neil Oliver highlights the growing concern over privacy invasion and surveillance capitalism, despite their differing political stances. Galloway's perspective, his critiques particularly of figures like Keir Starmer, point to a surveillance state where privacy is eroded for political or security gains. His references to crime and government issues suggest a system where surveillance isn't just for profit but for control, masters public safety. Oliver's observations about the rapid decline of freedoms under Starmer's watch directly relate to surveillance capitalism, where personal data becomes a commodity and government intrusion into private life is justified under the guise of security or combating extremism. Both discuss how political ideologies are monitored to shape public opinion, reflecting the global trend towards controlling information, which undercuts privacy under the pretext of security. Despite their political differences, both converge on the issue of diminishing freedoms, indicating that privacy invasion transcends partisan politics, challenging democratic values fundamentally. The comparison to 1933 serves as a cautionary tale against normalizing surveillance and censorship, suggesting today's practices could lead to authoritarian controls if unchecked. Their commentaries underscore a critical debate on balancing privacy with security, highlighting the risk of surveillance capitalism in modern governance. Let's watch George, and then we'll watch Neil.
Wave in Britain is getting out of control and it's spreading beyond London. Tunbridge Wells, of all places, an 80-year-old woman has just been murdered, stabbed to death by a 20-year-old who is in custody. All over the country, oftentimes in places like Bournemouth that you would never associate with high violent crime, people are being stabbed and shot on a daily basis. and the government, the Home Secretary, she has no apparent interest, more interested in cracking down on tweets on social media. Her police force raided Sarah Wilkinson with 12 officers at dawn in traditional fascist style. Many of the police officers wearing balaclavas to arrest a 61-year-old woman over a tweet. A woman, moreover, who is highly respected across the country. An entirely peaceful woman, doing her best to uphold international law whilst being arrested like a criminal. Her bail conditions were, well, telling. She is never to use a mobile phone or a computer all the time she waits trial, which may be some considerable time, if it ever happens at all. Seems unlikely to me that Keir Starmer, the man who let Jimmy Savile go, the man who tried to deliver Julian Assange to the tender mercies of the United States of America, will win many trials in front of a jury. The rampage goes on in France. Pavel Durov released on bail, millions of euros of bail, travel restrictions, 2 calls at a police station per week for the crime of owning a platform that will not allow the French security services a back door into other people's information, considering that that would be a breach of the ethics on which the platform was built, a breach of the ethics which the users of Telegram signed up for in the first place. The owner of Rumble just made it out of Europe on time. France has banned the use of Rumble. Can you believe it? The European Union is considering similar measures against Elon Musk, the owner of the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, all because he is refusing to crack down on freedom of speech to the extent that Western governments demand. All the things that the Western world used to allege about other people's countries are now so standard, such a daily routine, that nobody even mentions them, not least because nobody ever reports them. If you're not on one of the dwindling number of social media platforms available to you in your country, then you won't even know about them. You may not know, for example, that Twitter has just been banned by the supposed leftist government of Lula in Brazil. The judge is going to charge you $10,000 per day if you are caught using a VPN to continue to use Twitter. Somebody came up with a wheeze, sounds to me like quite a good one. If we all get a VPN and set it to Brazil, that's going to drive the authorities crazy. Sounds like a good idea to me.
Let's listen to Neil Oliver, see what he has to say.
I'm joined now by my friend, Canadian journalist and host of Craden's Right, David Craden. Good to see you, David.
It's so nice to be back, Neil.
David, I feel sometime in the not too distant future, you in Canada and me in Britain, we'll soon only be able to communicate with one another by banging out Morse code on the pipes of our prison cells with our tin cups. What say you?
I've never seen freedom die so quickly as it has in the UK in the last month of this horrid administration. But Canada, of course, is going in the same way. We have the Online News Act coming to us again in the fall for a second reading. But believe it or not, Neil, the RCMP in this country, yes, the blessed Royal Canadian Mounted Police, are doing it already. They're not waiting for this law to be passed to go around arresting people for supposedly putting horrible things on the internet, on social media. There was a woman in Chilliwack recently arrested for supposedly putting out racially offensive material on social internet. Where have we seen this? This is exactly what happened in Britain, where that visual, that scene of the two cops, one of them talking like Eliza Doolittle, coming in there and telling that old man that he's guilty of a Facebook crime. And in fact, he says, "Oh, let me guess, it's a Facebook crime, isn't it?" And she says, "That's right, get your meds, we're going to jail." And that's exactly what's transpiring here in Canada. Now we had a woman in Wasaga Beach, which is in southern Ontario, and just north of Toronto. The cops came to her living room and warned her about things she was putting on social media. So they're not even waiting for the Online Arms Act to pass, which, as you know, and I think your listeners will know, this is Justin Trudeau's third piece of internet legislation, internet censorship, which is going to make it illegal to have a thought crime. There's actually a thought crimes component in this bill, and it's going to make it extremely difficult for anybody out there, as an independent journalist, as new media, and even for old media, to say anything controversial, anything that's going to upset the government. And right now, that's Justin Trudeau, and just about everything upsets Justin Trudeau, unless you're in lockstep with his socialist policies.
I have it on good authority that Trudeau is contemplating pushing for the ability to jail for life on account of things that people say. That some of it is actually going to carry a life term. Can that be true?
Yes, that's exactly. The Online Harms Bill has a provision for 20 years in prison. That's more than murderers are getting in this country. 20 years, that's life in Canada, yes. And that's part of the Online Harms Bill. And this is a piece of legislation that has been sold to the public as a means of protecting children from child pornography. Children are already protected from child pornography through the criminal code, through legislation. And it's got nothing to do with revenge porn and all these other red herrings that the Trudeau government is putting up there and out there as a means of making people accept this bill. This bill is, strictly speaking, everything George Orwell spoke about in 1984. Yes, Justin Trudeau is using 1984 as a guidebook. Our opposition conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, have made that declaration and that observation about a month or two ago, saying Trudeau doesn't look at 1984 as a warning. He looks upon it as a guidebook, as a means to advancing his censorship agenda, which is amongst the most frightening in the world. At least as frightening as what's happening in your country right now under STARMER, who is bringing Britain down to a totalitarian second world nation. It's shocking to me. I have loved Great Britain my entire life. I have looked to the UK as the fount of free speech, as the country that developed free speech over centuries because of the Magna Carta and forward. This is the country, I asked recently, how do democracies die? Well, they can die pretty quickly. When you have a prime minister who goes on about these so-called keyboard warriors who should be locked up for 3 years for daring to put anything on social media that upsets this pudgy-faced dictator.
Pepe Escobar's critique on the EU's recent moves, including the arrest of Pavel Durov and the implementation of the Digital Service Act, paints a picture of neo-Orwellian crackdown. This perspective suggests that rather than fostering innovation, EU bureaucrats are opting to regulate social media heavily. The argument posits that the regulatory overreach is not about improving digital services, it's about controlling and potentially stifling independent voices in the European digital space, highlighting a regulatory environment where the innovation is curbed through legislation. Let's listen to Pepe now.
There are several intertwined explanations in terms of internal French politics, but most of all, the European Commission overall policy. The European Commission's overall policy is basically the Digital Services Act, which many of you in the audience would know. It's a neo-Orwellian law basically organized by those thousands of bureaucrats of the European Commission in Brussels to regulate social networks. But the key target is the big Silicon Valley networks, not necessarily Telegram. Because Telegram, they don't have more than 45 million active users a month in Europe, according to their own numbers. The French say no, they're lying. But these are the official Telegram numbers. And the Digital Services Act basically wants to regulate the big guys, Meta, X, etc. The French rationale is slightly different compared to the European Commission rationale. We all know that there is no social network in Europe, which proves to all of us, especially around the global majority, that the so-called technological power of the EU is a myth. They're desperate about it. So what do? Instead of create, they regulate, which is the point of the Digital Services Act. Or, to be slightly bolder, in the case of Telegram, which is much smaller compared to Silicon Valley, there's the possibility of why not take it over? Why not steal it? Or why not dismember it,
Venezuela denounces US seizure of the President Maduro's plane as an act of piracy. The Bolivian Republic of Venezuela has publicly condemned the United States for what it describes as an act of piracy following the seizure of an aircraft used by President Maduro. This incident, which occurred in the Dominican Republic, has highlighted by the Venezuelan government as an example of US overstepping international norms. The official statement from the Venezuelan Minister of Communications, Culture and Tourism, Freddy Nunes, through the communique on Telegram, accused the US of illegally confiscating the plane, asserting that such actions are justified by coercive measures imposed by unilateral by the US contravening international law. The Venezuela statement criticizes the US for using its economic and military might to coerce nations like the Dominican Republic into participating in what Venezuela deems criminal activities. This reflects the broader critique of what some refer to as the rules-based order, where international law is allegedly bypassed in favor of imposing US interests. This condemnation not only escalates tensions between Venezuela and the US, but also brings into questions the mechanisms of international law and sovereignty in the face of superpower interventions.
Exclusive live pictures that we're showing you right now of the seized plane belonging to Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Maduro, we should note, is not on board, but the plane was seized by officials for violating U.S. sanctions. CNN's Kylie Atwood joins me now. Kylie, this is pretty extraordinary. This does not happen, obviously, every day where U.S. authorities go in and seize the plane of a head of state. But that is essentially what's happened this morning. Can you break this down for us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the plane of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is now in the hands of the United States.
The New York Times critique reflects authoritarian tendencies in support of the Democrat Party. Recent discussions on social media platforms like X highlight a growing sentiment that the New York Times has adopted stances reminiscent of authoritarian regimes in apparent bid to maintain Democratic Party influence. There's a narrative emerging where elections, traditionally the cornerstone of democratic practice, are portrayed as detrimental to democracy itself. This perspective suggests that preference for governance mechanisms might be bypassed or diminish the electoral process, potentially to favour one political ideology over another. Comments on the First Amendment being out of control imply a desire for more control over speech, which could be interpreted as authoritarian approach to managing dissent or alternative viewpoints, particularly those critical of the democratic policies or figures. The notion that the Constitution, while sacred, might also be dangerous, touches on a complex debate about the interpretation and the application. This could reflect a desire to reinterpret or amend constitutional rights in ways that align more closely with progressive ideologies, potentially at the expense of traditional liberties, checks and balances. These points collectively suggest a critique where the New York Times is seen not just as a news outlet, but also as an advocate for political strategies that could undermine democratic principles for the sake of maintaining power, echoing tactics historically associated with authoritarianism. This perspective, while controversial, underscores a broader debate on media influence, political power, and the integrity of democratic institutions in America. Elon Musk has articulated a vision where universal basic income, UBI, becomes essential due to the encroachment of robots and AI into the job market, predicting a scenario where goods become abundant and inexpensive. However, there's a counter-narrative suggesting that UBI might inadvertently trap people in a form of economic dependency akin to prison for the masses. Instead of embracing a future dominated by AI and robotics with UBI as a safety net, one could advocate for maintaining human labour. By choosing not to fully automate industries, society could keep unemployment rates high, ensuring that people continue to engage in work that provides not only a just income, but also purpose and social interaction. With human labour retained, the cost of goods might remain higher due to labour costs, but this could be seen as a trade-off for maintaining job availability and the dignity of work. This approach might lead to a more balanced society where economic disparities are less about automation's impact and more about traditional economic policies. It would require rethinking how we would value work and possibly adjusting economic systems to support employment costs without resorting to UBI. This perspective challenges the inevitability of widespread automation and questions whether the benefit of UBI truly outweigh the potential loss of workers' intrinsic value to individuals and society. Postulates that keeping jobs even at the cost of higher prices, we might preserve a more human-centric economic model where work continues to be a central part of life's purpose and structure. Let's listen to Elon Musk now.
About mass unemployment. This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice. There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be, almost everything will get very cheap.
Potential role in the Trump administration to overhaul government efficiency. Elon Musk has expressed keen interest in joining the prospective Trump administration, particularly in a role that would focus on streamlining government operations. In a post on his X account, Musk stated, "I can't wait. There's a lot of waste and needless regulation in the government that needs to go," signaling his enthusiasm for reducing bureaucratic inefficiencies. According to reports from the Washington Post, Donald Trump, if re-elected, is considering the establishment of a special commission tasked with reviewing and potentially reforming various government programs. Elon Musk's name has been floated as a potential member of this commission, leveraging his reputation for innovation and efficiency from his ventures like Tesla and SpaceX. This development underscores a potential alignment between Musk's vision for less government red tape and Trump's campaign promises to cut down on what they perceive as unnecessary government spending and regulation. Musk's involvement could represent a significant crossover of tech industry insights into government operations, aiming to apply private sector efficiency principles to public administration. The situation involving Pavel Durov in France has sparked discussions on human rights, particularly focusing on the balance between freedom of speech and legal accountability. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has indicated that any limitations placed on free speech should be measured and justified, highlighting the complexity of ensuring rights while addressing potential criminal activities linked to digital platforms. On Monday, thousands of protesters mobilised by the opposition filled the streets of a massive demonstration against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. The crowd's chants resounded with accusations. "Bibi is killing hostages. reflecting the widespread frustration and anger over the government's handling of the hostage situation with Hamas. This outcry signifies a significant public demand for immediate action towards the securing of release of hostages, highlighting a deep rift between Netanyahu's administration and a segment of the Israeli public. Let's watch these videos now of the protest. A lot of people. IDF Nazis. IDF is like the brown shirts in the 30s. Turkey has officially applied for membership of the BRICS group, signalling its intention to expand its international alliances beyond its unusual Western partners. This move comes as the BRICS bloc, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, prepare for a summit in Russia in October, where the expansion of the group is slated for discussion. Turkey's application underscores its strategic pivot towards enhancing its global influence through economic and political ties with emerging markets, reflecting a broader realignment in international relations, and it's just had enough waiting to join the EU. What will the ramifications be of NATO? With Turkey requesting joining BRICS, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim is set to express Malaysia's interest in joining the BRICS group during a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum, EEF. This move underscores Malaysia's strategic pivot towards enhancing economic and political ties with emerging markets, aiming to leverage the collective economic power of BRICS for national benefits. Meanwhile, Serbian Vice President Alexander Vulin has made a bold statement indicating Serbia's preference for aligning with BRICS over the European Union. Vulin criticised the EU for its perceived one-sided demands, suggesting that Serbia, like other nations, should consider alternatives that offer more substantial benefits to their citizens. His remarks reflect a growing sentiment among countries to seek economic and political partnerships that promise greater autonomy and mutual benefit, challenging the traditional dominance of Western-led blocs. Over the past few years, France has witnessed an alarming trend where numerous Christian churches, some centuries old, are being engulfed by flames. This map circulating online pinpoints these incidents over just the last 4 years, sparking widespread speculation of arson. While many suspect a targeted group might be behind these fires, the authorities have maintained a notable silence on the matter. Recently, another historic church, which had endured both world wars and was established in 1854, fell victim to this mysterious waves of fires, further fueling public suspicion and concern of who might be responsible and why these incidents are not receiving more attention or investigation. As we just reported, there has been a series of church fires in France drawing significant attention to the case of Joel Vignoir. He has been identified as the perpetrator behind one of these arson attacks. This is his photo here. His history includes multiple instances of setting churches ablaze, which have raised concerns about the safety of religious sites. Interestingly, his social media activities reveal posts where he expresses admiration for Islam, adding a complex layer to his motivations and the broader discussion on religious tolerance and extremism in France. This situation has sparked debates on various platforms, with some users calling for stringent measures against such acts, while others discuss the implications of religious extremism and the need for community healing and understanding. Did you know death that could be reversible? Resurrection is no longer a fantasy, according to the article in Telegraph. This is a conclusion reached by English scientists. The brain can be saved for several days or hours after death, and with the help of special devices and drugs, the dead can be revived. This is proven by experiments on pigs by professors at Yale University. Scientists say that the very concept of death will soon be refined as simply damage that can be repaired. The notion of resurrection, once confined to the realms of a fantasy and religion, might be on the brink of scientific reality, according to recent breakthrough by English researchers. Studies suggest that even hours or days after what is currently defined as death, the brain could potentially be preserved and revived. Yale University's pig experiments have demonstrated that with advanced medical technologies, the pharmaceuticals, what we consider irreversible death might actually be reversible. These findings propose that death could be soon viewed not as an endpoint, but as a form of damage that technology might repair, fundamentally altering our understanding of life's finality. Profound ethical and scientific questions about the nature of life, death, and what it is meant to be human. Did you know Putin's dead again? I think this is for the 103rd time, and this time also Lavrov is dead, as you can see with this tweet. Putin is dead. Oops. Putin is dead. Many rumours claiming Putin and Lavrov have been killed by the FSB. The collapse has started. Like he's got 200 clones.